everyone. So today we're actually going to be doing some front brakes, pads and rotors on my 2016 Chevrolet SS. I went ahead and picked up some OE brake pads. So these are the Brembo brake pads that originally come with the vehicle. Part number is GM 922-77173. Additionally, I'll go ahead and be replacing the rotors, and again with GM genuine stuff, and these are 922-45928, and that is for the driver's side rotor. I'm not 100% sure if the driver's side and passenger side are the same, but I was able to pick up the rotors off Rock Auto, and I got the brake pads off of eBay. So source your parts wherever you like, but these are the genuine GM parts. So let's get into replacing these brakes. So before any brake job, what I always like to do is remove the brake master cylinder cap. That's just in case you do have a lot of brake fluid in here. You go ahead and compress the caliper, then the brake fluid doesn't kind of pressurize within the master cylinder. It can come and dribble out a little bit. And if your brake fluid does dribble out a little bit, make sure you clean it immediately because it will strip the paint off of your vehicle. Just go ahead and spray it down with some brake clean and some rags and you're good to go. So I already did the passenger side just to get an idea of how to do this. So this is the driver's side now. So the first thing that we're going to do is spray this whole area down with some brake clean, knock off some of the dust, and then also it'll provide a little bit of lubrication for when we drive these pins out that hold the brake pads in. So there's a little hole here and a little hole here, and you're going to want to drive these pins towards the inner part of the wheel well, or the inner side of the wheel. Now I've just got a little screwdriver that I'm going to use to drive these out. You should probably use a punch. I couldn't find a punch small enough, so this worked for me. There's that one. Go ahead and press the shim down. It is under quite a lot of tension. Pull the pin out. There's one pin, and go ahead and drive out this bottom pin. Again, hold the shim down, pull the pin out. All right. So now that our pins are out, we're gonna go ahead and grab onto these counterweights here and pull and push to compress the piston, just enough to where we can pull the pads out. Now they're nice and loose. That's one way to do it. You can see here these pads are pretty much smoked. I don't know how well that comes out on camera, but there is like nothing. There's a thin veneer left on those pads, in my opinion. And there we go. Our brake pads are out. One thing to be mindful of, I don't know how well it comes out on camera again, but there's an arrow here and actually an arrow there. You install these pads with the arrow facing upwards because that's the rotation of the rotor is forwards. So that's how you're gonna go ahead and install your new pads. So now we're on the back side, and there's one 18mm bolt here and another one up here, hidden by that hose. So we're gonna go ahead and take the impact and take these out. These are red Loctited in, so if you want, go ahead and apply some heat to the head of the bolt. Obviously be mindful if you're using heat not to melt your brake hose or any wiring as well. So now that we have the brake caliper off, you can see that it has quite a lot of brake dust on here. What I like to do is just go ahead and spray a little bit of brake clean, just light on the trigger, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take a nylon brush and just go ahead and just brush off most of this brake dust. And then when that's all done, we'll take off the rotor and clean up the hub face. Now before we go ahead and clean up the hub face, I'm gonna go ahead and compress the caliper. I have this little tool, Lyle makes a different style tool. This is the one that I have, It's just got one stationary head on it and then one ratcheting head. So we're gonna go ahead and just get this as snug in there as we can, and then we're gonna go ahead and start ratcheting this handle, and it'll start to spread the pistons out. Now again, make sure you have removed your master cylinder reservoir cap before you do this. So the caliper is all tightened up. The torque spec for this caliper is 30 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Next, we're gonna go ahead and just clean up our pins. I just have a Scotch-Brite pad here, a red Scotch-Brite pad. You don't gotta apply a whole lot of pressure to this. Just wanna knock off whatever stubborn brake dust is on there. Now, the way I prep these pads is I just put a very thin coat of this copper anti-seize along the backing plate here. These are kind of strange that they, I don't know, give you 75-ish% of the shim. It's essentially just want to cover where the piston interfaces with the brake pad to avoid any squeaks. So just be mindful that where you had the arrow, and another thing too with these Brembo pads is quite nice. You have this green dot. Green dot needs to be up, but the arrow needs to be pointing upwards as well. So we're gonna go ahead and slide this one in. Slide this guy in, the inboard pad. All right, go ahead and take our shim, place it down in here, take our one pin, bring it through. Go. You can honestly take the pin mostly the way through, and you can slide the shim underneath. Okay. So that pin is now just barely starting in that hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and flex this shim all the way. So this pin is almost all the way in. Just be very careful. I'm gonna tap it with my mallet. There we go. Now it's started. Take the same screwdriver that we drove the pins out with to drive them in. And that's it. And there you have it, YouTube. That's how you replace the front pads and rotors on your 2016 Chevrolet SS. Now, this procedure will be applicable for the 13 to 17 model year Chevrolet SS's. And obviously you can still see that the car is still on jack stands. That's because I'm gonna go ahead and do a brake fluid flush using my Motive power bleeder. This is a very good one-man power bleeder. But after I'm all done with that, I'm gonna put the wheels on and torque the lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. Then go ahead and brake the brake pads in. Now, everyone's very particular about how they do the braking procedure. Personally, I'm just gonna follow what it says in the owner's manual and go from there. But as always, I really hope you found this video helpful, educational, and entertaining. And until next time, YouTube, take care.